Every winter, Delhi-NCR turns into a toxic gas chamber with PM 2.5 levels soaring to 50 times the WHO safe limit, choking 46 million residents. Although citizens and policymakers have access to pollution data, yet there are no actionable insights that would enable them to take precautionary measures, which further aggravate this problem. A pleasant day to all. I am K Puneet from Team DigiSlay. We are building an application for tackling the problem statement, AI-driven pollution source identification, forecasting, and policy dashboard for Delhi NCR. There are portals and applications which exist such as Summer, Green Delhi app, and Samir, which cater to various specific needs. However, they have a lot of caveats. None of them are capable of making hyperlocal AQI predictions, especially since that is significantly relevant to the population dense region of Delhi. And also, none of them are capable of pinpointing exact sources of pollution or predicting spikes accurately. Lack of policy simulation, community engagement, and lack of personalized safe route suggestions or accountability tracking leave citizens vulnerable and policymakers guessing in the dark. Our solution Nirvayu is a comprehensive web and mobile platform that leverages AI to identify pollution sources, predict air quality indexes, and deliver actionable insights, thereby bringing thereby solving all the existing caveats and bringing the solution under a single unified umbrella. It uses data from NASA firms and CPCB to quantify pollution contribution from sources, makes hyperlocal AQA forecast in a radius of 1 kilometer, and generate early warnings for prior planning for pollution spikes. And it displays these findings in heat maps and visuals which can be easily understood by both citizens as well as policymakers. Addressing the issue of lack of actionable insights for citizens, our app also provides personalized health and safe food suggestions for activities such as commuting and jogging based on AQI levels, and through bulletin dashboards keeps them aware of policy decisions such as alerts and initiatives, thereby enabling transparency. For policymakers, our application has a dashboard which provides insights derived from data from source breakdown, pollution hotspot heat maps, and trend analysis based on historic data and current data, along with insights from AI derived from these data. Our application also has policy sandbox, thereby enabling policymakers to test and estimate the impact of their initiatives on the atmospheric health of Delhi. So how do we achieve our project? Well, we are relying on fast API for backend with Python and AIML algorithms. For front end web, we are using Next.js. For mobile, we are using React Native. In order to meet our huge and diverse requirements for data, we are using OpenAQI and AQSCN for AQI related data. NASA firms in order to get stubble burning related incidents in order to quantify pollution sources, and Google Maps and Open Weather Map API in order to get route based suggestions. MongoDB is our primary database for storing all the data such as the pollution data and fire data. Coming to the technical flow of our application. Well, our application has two roles, citizens and policymakers. After appropriate login and sign up procedures, citizens would be interacting with AKI forecast and maps and would be receiving personalized health suggestions not only through display within the app but also through push notifications which would keep the user or the citizen updated about the AQI levels real time and provide suggestions of how these changing AQI levels can impact the user's health and the precautionary measures that the citizen has to undertake in order to minimize exposure and damage. The user can also interact with maps in order to get safe route suggestions, while policymakers would be primarily be dealing with data and insights from AI. Data in the form of historic trend analysis and prediction, source breakdowns, and pollution hotspot heat map. AI would be using these data in order to make recommendation and deliver insights, thereby enabling policymakers to make more informed decisions. But then the question arises, how are we going to make hyperlocal AKA forecast in a radius of 1 kilometer when portals such as Suffer makes it in a radius of 10 kilometers? Or what is the underlying logic and parameters by which you would be making safe route suggestions? Or how are we forecasting the contribution of each pollution source in the overall pollution levels of Delhi NCR? Well, addressing them one by one, for making hyperlocal AKA forecast, you will be using mathematical interpolation. For safe route suggestions, we would be relying on the fact that in a population dense region such as Delhi, the AQI levels would be varying significantly across small areas. There would be regions with high traffic flow, there would be regions with low traffic flow, regions with high industrial emission, regions with low industrial emissions. And we would be using these parameters in order to make safe route suggestions. Well, this would be just suggestions. The user has the choice of choosing whichever route he likes. That depends on the user convenience. For source breakdown, we would be acknowledging and relying on the fact that each pollution source has a unique way of rising up the pollution levels. For example, stubble burning leads to higher concentration of NH3, that is ammonia. Industrial emissions lead to higher concentration of nitrogen dioxide and nitrogen oxide. Vehicular emissions lead to higher concentration of carbon monoxide, and we will be using these data and comparing it with the baseline values in order to estimate the contribution of each of the sources in Delhi NCR's overall pollution levels. Well, this is our system architecture. Our API gateway is fast API, which is responsible for fetching data from various API. It would be sending these data to preprocessors, which would then send this data to our AIML services. Our AIML services would deliver data which can be used by our users, that is citizens, as well as policymakers. Coming to the feasibility and viability section of our project, well, our our application is very feasible and viable since we are using free APIs and AWS. Therefore, the cost of initial investment is negligible. Apart from that, this application can be further expanded into other region and made more effective if we obtain government grants. As of now, this the application can be scalable to 22 districts of Delhi without any hardware upgrade. It would be using the already established pollution measuring stations spread across 40 locations in Delhi NCR. Hence, it requires no hardware installation. The upfront costs are also very low, and given the high population of Delhi, we are expecting uh, we are expecting a user base worth 46 million users. In order to monetize our application, we are thinking of using API based subscription model, especially selling it to healthcare providers such as hospitals, which may need the data from our application in order to priorly plan pollution spikes and surges. Also, data monetization is also another viable option. Coming to use cases, our application makes the makes quite convenient for citizens and policymakers. For citizens, hyperlocal AQI alerts and safe route suggestions helps reduce exposure to the pollution levels in Delhi NCR, especially for people who are asthmatic. Policymakers have dashboards and what if simulations, thereby enabling more informed decision making and easing their task. Also, we know that primarily citizens in Delhi NCR have to rely on news channels in order to get AQI updates, but they cannot keep track of news channels everywhere. Our application, by using push notification, keeps the user updated about the AQI levels and also the precautionary measures that he has to undertake, thereby easing uh, easing the need of the citizens as well as policymakers of having the information of the pollution level in Delhi. Coming to healthcare integration, Well, hospitals require data in order to make prior planning for pollution surges, especially considering patients having respiratory illnesses. Our application can help in that. Impact and benefit. Well, it our application provides a lot of benefits. It makes it more convenient for citizens, policymakers, as well as communities. It slashes economic losses due to PM 2.5. It also has the potential of speeding up policymakers' responses, introducing transparency, and involving citizens in the general policy making decisions of the government related to the pollution levels of Delhi. Social trust also grows with this application, and economic benefits are quite clear. Well, our application outshines its competitors such as Suffer and others with policy dashboard, community features, hyperlocal AQF forecast, privacy first design, source forecasting, and local community leaderboards. Therefore, s- therefore standing out amongst the crowd. Nirvayu clears Delhi NCR skies. Support us at SIS 2025. Like, subscribe, and comment below. Let's breathe easy together. Thanks.